Greetings, welcome. Whether you are a coach, whether you are in the coaching space, or if you're just interested in finding out more about the coaching world, you are at the right place. A very warm welcome. This is the Coaching Hour podcast. As you know by now, I'm Paul Rotherham, coming to you straight out of my home in Benoni, and I'm joined by three lovely ladies, our two regulars in the form of Mary and Mareka. Mary and Mareka, good morning to you. Nice to have you with us. We are joined by a guest today who is no stranger to the Coaching Hour because she has been with us before, albeit in a slightly different format when we were still doing the radio show, when we had our studios. So that's going back, I would imagine, a couple of years now. Mareka, I'm going to allow you to take care of the intros.
Great, thank you, Paul. Yes, today we have again Yoke van Dam with us. She's the owner and founder of Y Connect. She's a speaker, coach, trainer, and today we're going to talk about a very important topic, I feel, because especially in South Africa, most people have a dream to have their own business or they have their own business on the side. And today we're going to actually talk about how to, if you start your own business, how to align it or your offline brand, how to align that with the web, which is the challenge usually. So thank you, Yoke, for being with us. Before we get into the topic, please tell us a bit about yourself and how did you get into this coaching space? You work a lot with corporates and business owners and so forth.
It's so lovely to be back. Thanks for that intro. So I'm Yoke van Dam from Y Connect. Just to give you a bit of background on the kind of things that I do. So 2 weeks ago, I was speaking at the Sales and Marketing Summit, and one of the audience members then had lunch with me, and I ended up coaching the team that had to do, they were like an ad agency that had to do a major pitch in one city. And they then afterwards send me all of these WhatsApp messages actually showing how they've implemented all of the work. So it's so nice when you
Wow.
coach people and they actually apply what you've done. It's like a golden star moment. So some of the work is, presentation coaching for pitches specifically. I also do, so on the AI side, in a funny way, I was doing some self-promotion courses, which is more like personal brand to help speakers and entrepreneurs to brand themselves using AI, but using it ethically. So instead of just going into ChatGPT and saying, write me a blog article about AI, for your own
Exactly.
business, they were using so you would use your own podcasts or your videos and actually transcribe it and turn that into videos, blogs, articles. So it's actually all your own content. And then I also do a lot of team transformation. I don't know what you guys have noticed, but it looks like people are in huge conflict in South Africa and all across the world. So companies keep on coming to me and saying, oh my word, our people hate each other. They're struggling to collaborate. So it becomes almost like a mediation, problem solving / team build, team alignment. And that's where my metaphor, the Kintsugi queen, comes from, which is this broken pot in Japan that you put back together using gold. So for me, it's like there's so many cracks in teams. And where the coaching then comes in, Mareka, is very often you'll do the work, like you do a lot of team things, with groups. It's not a magic wand solution. So afterwards, people need to actually take accountability and work on themselves. So I've seen it actually leads to either group coaching, individual coaching, and then the leaders, very often the CEOs say, oh my goodness, the leaders don't have any EQ. Can you help them? So that leads to leadership courses or leadership coaching. So it all kind of like cross-pollinates into each other. The speaking, training, and coaching, they all
Yeah.
merge into really solving problems for businesses, I would say, whether it's leaders, teams, productivity, engagement.
Yeah, okay, if I may, I know we're not here to talk about pottery, but you've reminded me now about the story that you told when you came into the studio. And I think it's
I'm
such
so
a wonderful
glad.
story. Wouldn't you mind just sharing it with us just as part of the intro? We don't have too much time, but just to sow the seed for that pot that gets broken and then put back together, because that was a lovely story.
Yeah, so in Japan, they have this art called Kintsugi, and it's a pot that's broken. And what they then do is they put it back together using gold. And this pot then transforms into an art piece that people buy at huge amounts of money. So where something actually looked broken, it's actually now more valuable. And if you look at your life, I love the hero's journey. So I always look at my life and people's lives and all of our stories, and we go through the highs and the lows and the trials and tribulations, and we win some, we lose some, we have near-death experiences, we lose team members, people immigrate, friends move away. There's so much that happens in a team. So if you can actually realize that your team is going to start showing cracks, it's normal, it's natural. Like my husband has just left now. They've been forced to now go back to the office 1 day a week, and he is not happy about this. I bought him like really nice food and try to motivate him. But ultimately, it's about actually getting people to reunite again and find their flow. And that's really what it's about, Paul.
Lovely. Such a beautiful analogy. And I can relate. It's crazy. We all complained when we had to start working from home during COVID. Everybody wanted to be back at work. And then within a very short space of time, nobody wanted to go back to work, and we wanted to stay where we were at home. Incredible, hey? Human nature. It's a strange thing.
But it's also the way we've adapted our office spaces. So the amount of investment that have gone into extra screens, standing desks, like I cannot tell you how overcapitalized these offices of ours are now. So not fully optimizing them is actually a worry in some ways, And as they're going back, the company, the Japanese headquarters forced them to go back. So they don't have extra screens. They don't actually have the same facilities that we have at home back at the office. So it's very much a dictatorship of just jump so high. We don't actually care if you're going to be productive. You just better be there. Interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think it's going to be a completely different topic maybe for a different day, to talk about why things have actually become this way. Why are things or people struggling more? And it didn't seem that dysfunctional, I don't know, 10 or 20 years ago. But anyways, we'll talk about that later. I think for today, I want to speak to the business owners out there, the entrepreneurs, the people that, dream of having their own business, or they have their own business, but it's so daunting because if you look at the web, it's no longer just like back in the day where you have a website, you have a Facebook page, and then you're good to go. There's so much more that goes with that, like you said, to put your offline brand on the web. Like, where do you start? Like, it's quite daunting.
It's so interesting. I was actually doing a webinar about that for people in the States, and some of the advice that I was giving these guys is you actually have to start with your own personal brand. So how you do that is literally looking at what are your core strengths. So what's quite nice is there's even some free assessments available online, like the Marcus Buckingham Strength Assessment that individuals or families can do to see what am I really good at, and it gives you your top 2 strengths and talents. But then you could do things like Clifton strengths, or you could just brainstorm. So you start with yourself, asking yourself, what are your strengths? What are your core values? And even if you're going to go into business, it's important that you know those things because people do business with you first. And then you're actually looking at what are the feedback from other people. So I asked them as their homework, they had to message 5 friends, 5 family members, 5 colleagues and say, doing a personal branding exercise, please can you give me 1 word to describe me? And then we did a bit of like coaching in this webinar to actually say, if there's a specific word and let's say you're very creative, or let's say you're very confident, but people don't necessarily see it. What actions can you take to show them that? And I said to them, it's almost like a diet. If you want to lose weight, people only start noticing it after you've lost about 10 kgs. You've done a lot of effort. So there's a lot that actually has to happen below the iceberg in terms of effort. And then putting programs and systems and things in place for you to do those things so you can eventually get that result. Now, if you're looking at that in the online space, Marika, is let's say the one guy said he's a CFO, but he's been studying coaching, and he's been doing a lot of his practice sessions, and now he needs to start asking money. So prime example for you. And I said to him, you need to now get testimonials, and you need to create stories and case studies of the people that you've coached. You can get the permission. You don't even have to use their names, but speak about the story. What was the problem? Why did they come to you? What was your process? What were the results? And also, like, what industry are they? Or is this a mom? Is this a millennial? Is this a baby boomer? So a person will rather want to buy, if I wanted to buy coaching from you and I know you are helping people similar to me, whether it's industry, work, age, experience, then I'll be more keen to buy coaching from you. So for them, they actually have to start sharing those stories. And that could be through LinkedIn articles, through posts, through, I said to them, photos tend to work well. A photo speaks 1,000 words. So whenever, like even now, we could take a photo and go and write a story about, the coaching conversations we had, some aha moments, but make it meaningful. Don't just have like selfie, I'm on a podcast, no one cares. It's about, does it actually add to their life? Is it going to help them with their online, offline brand? So it's really the storytelling that you tell from what you've figured out from yourself. So that's just some of the things.
So Yoke, can I challenge you a bit? And Paul, if I can use you as an example, if that's fine. So Paul, I don't know if you know, has a online Lego store, right, Paul? To buy Lego parts.
Oh.
Is that correct?
Yeah, there's an international website called Bricklink, and I have a store. Yeah, there's about 60 stores in South Africa where individual people are trading on this site. Yeah.
Yes. So this is quite a different type of challenge. Coaching and personal service is one thing. I get that. You are the brand, what you portray, and your personality, and so on. But let's say, for example, like a business like that. How do you bring that, although it's already online, but how do you build that brand, or someone that is perhaps selling, what can I now say?
No. Please, can we use Lego? Please, can we use
do
Lego?
that.
Please.
Let's do that.
So what I would do is, if I was you, Paul, I would invite a few, maybe like have different events. You could invite them to your house, but you could just like create a nice table there or whatever, and it's only a certain amount of people, and you maybe have a competition in terms of they only have a certain time limit, and they have to build a specific thing, but they have to be creative. So you're providing the parts, or they bring their own kit, right? And then you're going to feature them on your social media website, and you can interview them, but you're actually showing their creation. You could show behind the scenes, so you could do time lapses while they're building, overviews, things like that. But ultimately, why I love the Lego thing, Marika, is I was teaching people about, I'm so sorry, about adding value. So very often when people sell something, they do, when a manager asks someone to do something, they do a data dump. So they'll go in Excel and they just dump everything. But with Lego, it was so nicely illustrated because you could actually you first start putting the different colors together, the different sizes, the different shapes. So you first need to sort it according to category. And then you can actually, so you're turning that then eventually into a story. So where they actually showed ultimately by the end of it, you've got a house with a skateboard and whatever that you've built. And very often when people tell stories, and that's what you could do with you're telling a story through the Lego. If you could probably have something every single month that you even built yourself to say it's Valentine's, and you create this romantic scene through the Lego, and there could be a challenge where people have to post their things so that the Lego actually tells a story based on a theme of the month, and you could create a movement. I think people would love that. You could make money out of it. They could compete to build their things, and to sign on to the competition. You could get sponsorship. I think it would be fun. That's my idea. We
Muted
can't hear
Paul.
you,
Sorry,
Paul.
I'm muted. I was just saying the check is in the post, Yoke.
Amazing.
And you've just given all of my competition some brilliant ideas as well. So
But they're not listening. I'll block them.
hey, no, of course they are. The whole country listens to this podcast. Come on, man.
Don't tag Lego into the
No, no, no.
podcast, you know.
I think you've touched on something that is so important, and that is storytelling. And many people, even people who had no interest in Lego, and we won't harp on about Lego for too long, but many people who never knew about Lego fell in love with Lego, so to speak, when they released the Lego movie. There were people who had
Yes.
grown up with Lego or who had children who had never really taken much of an interest in it for many years. And the Lego movie just rekindled that because it was this really cool story. And the same thing can be said for the television show called Lego Masters. They've done it in the
Nice.
UK, the States, Australia, and their viewership, their audience, in very many cases, their audience is a group of people who didn't have any interest in Lego, but the stories behind it are what capture people. And I think that can apply to anything. It can apply to whatever the business is that you are in, whether you're selling widgets, doing paintings, whatever it might be. The list is endless. If there is a story, that's what I think as humans we all buy into.
What was very cool with Lego, it was part of a Lego case study of LRMG. And what was interesting is originally they weren't very open to learn about different target audiences, and they actually left out the adults and they left out women and girls. And when they started really battling, they got this consulting agency in, and then they started doing focus groups, and they actually realized there was a massive market in adults and girls and women. And that's such a big lesson for any entrepreneur. You need to speak to your um to your target audience, have focus groups, speak to people to hear maybe you're actually completely missing who could benefit from what you're selling, and maybe your marketing is not actually speaking to those people. So yeah, so many lessons from Lego.
100%. Yeah, I love it. Always have.
Amazing.
I think another thing that we've touched on now is people making assumptions. So often when I speak to people that wants to start their own business or have their own business, they make so many assumptions. Oh, people won't be interested in this, or this is not going to work. You can't, without doing the proper research, just making these assumptions, and then they limit themselves or they don't start their own business. Or it's going to be difficult. There's so many other people doing it. That's another one. There's so many other people having this type of business, so why would I be successful? That type of mindset.
But also, if there are no buyers, you also don't have a business. So very often the old saying was build it and they will come. And it's not the case anymore. If you actually completely finishing a product and you actually don't have buyers, that's why my husband's always telling me about the different games where they already give it to you years before it's done, so that they completely ironing out all the nickels in the game, and they've already completely got people on board, or they already have people's money before it's even perfect. So you actually have to, with design thinking, you actually have to change things around where it's more important to get buyers than to necessarily have the perfect product. You could actually create your service or your product based on the people that have committed. It's more so yeah, it's a weird thing what I've seen. And I see it a lot in the training space and even in the speaking space. You could have this perfect keynote, but no one would want it. While they have a specific problem and they say address this problem, and they, you can quote them and then you can create something to help with that. So it's kind of like a mind shift that you have to have,
Mary, do you have a question? I see that you are unmuted.
Yeah. It was interesting when you said that, about the supply and demand thing. You have to create the interest first, And then once the interest is there, you're ready to supply because you've got your background done already. And that applies to everything. I'm just thinking about all walks of life. Isn't that how these big brands did it? The KFCs and the McDonald's and the Coke and all
Yeah,
of those.
I
Yeah.
I always think of Safi when they came in, the airline. So they brought out, I don't know, it was like a 99-cent air ticket or something like that, and their website crashed because there was such a massive demand. Everyone was like, "Oh my goodness, I don't need to fly, but I want to fly." And everyone went there, and because people went there, they could not have had that successful launch of their company and their website and traffic for any kind of marketing had they not done something crazy like that. So it's also scarcity in a way. That's what you'll see a lot of with Black Fridays, early bird discounts. Um, I don't know if you guys were following what was happening with Prime, that energy drink, when that came in the country. That was a very good case study of overseas it was selling very expensive. And I was actually seeing there's a place where you can track online at places overseas where there's Prime. So then people like get in their cars and they drive there. So there was this crazy craze of scarcity and supply and demand created, but then Checkers actually brought it in at a more affordable rate. But it was actually the kids, the grade two, standard ones, they were the ones that actually told their parents, the millennials, we need this. So it's also kind of like sometimes you have the person that has the money, but who's the influencer that really makes the decision? It was the kid, you know? So
Yeah.
there's so many dynamics.
Exactly the same thing, if I may interject, can be said about Checkers and their current campaign. And Checkers, we're going to be sending you the invoice for this.
Yes, the
Have you seen the
minis.
ridiculous pricing now that is being asked for those little pink trolleys? Now, the concept, the little mini shopper, I don't think any of us don't know about it. I don't have any children in the home that are of the age where they would collect it.
No,
Although, having said that, it does appeal to certain adult collectors as well. But generally speaking, it is aimed at the children, albeit it's not the children who are going into Checkers to do the shopping. So, through the children, the parents are obviously getting these little packets. But it's just incredible. I've been seeing on social media, and this talks to the whole concept of supply and demand. They have created a demand based on there being seemingly a limited number of a specific item, in this case, the little pink trolley that's being produced. I mean, I've seen people literally asking for thousands. Whether
my
they get
word.
it is another story. But all of this, even though the conversation we're having now indirectly, or as we're listening to it, we might think it's not benefiting Checkers, but it is. Because
It
here's an
is
example of how Checkers has made their way
brand.
onto a podcast that has absolutely nothing to do with the fast food or the consumer retail space. We don't talk about that sort of stuff. Yet here we are. I've said their name 5, 6, 7 times, and I'm not saying it anymore. So it's incredible. And there's a perfect example of how you get people talking. And I think Prime was the same. A lot of people
Yeah,
didn't even know that it was from a YouTuber. They just bought into the hype. And it's like that with many things. I guess Crocs. You remember when Crocs first arrived? A shoe I still battle to resonate with,
You
quite
will
frankly.
never find me dead, sorry, in that.
But
I was.
strangely, Mareka, here we are talking about them.
Yeah,
So as terrible as you might think they are, everyone knows about Crocs. And
exactly.
and
I
I
was.
guess the conversation to be had if you are an entrepreneur is how do you get people to talk about your product in the way that we have been talking about Crocs or fidget spinners or the Checkers trolley? These are all conversations that I would love people to be having about my Lego store, which is called the Stud Farm. You can find it on Bricklink. Google it now, the Stud Farm. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
But
So
it's. I was wondering where did the little minis come from, and or where did the idea come from? And I thought, who else has something similar? And the only thing I could think of was McDonald's have, things for kids where you get a meal and there's some kind of goodies with it. But it's really the entertaining the children, but it's becoming a trading economy, which is crazy, which
I think
speaks
it
to
goes
the
back.
adults, which speaks to the adults. And now even people are donating this and saying they want to donate it, but it has to go you know, um, for animals or whatever, which is really positive. So it's becoming a
Yeah.
charity initiative. Wow.
I think it stems from the very simple concept of dolls. If you look at girls and in the more modern
Yes.
age, girls and boys, you grew up, I had action men, and the action men came with machine guns and hand grenades and tanks. And my
Yes.
girlfriends, little girlfriends, would have dolls, and those dolls would come with little baby bottles and pushchairs and prams. And if you look at the
So
concept of
true.
these minis, they are all
True.
things that you can relate to in your home. I mean, the product list is endless. It's you go and have a look in your pantry or in your laundry cupboard or wherever you keep all of your toiletries or your cleaning materials, and you will find that Checkers have wonderfully replicated that in a tiny scale. And my mom-in-law Mary and I were actually chatting about this because Mary has two granddaughters, Savannah and Casey, who absolutely love these things. And I was saying, I'm pretty certain that the model for Checkers has been so clever that they haven't paid a cent. Because what I assume they did is they would go to the Dettol, the
Makes
Sunlight
sense.
dishwashing liquid, the Omar
Yep.
Rusks, and they'd say, right, if you'd like to be included in this mini shopper concept, you need to pay for the manufacture of your mini and contribute a marketing portion as well. I reckon they've actually made money on top of making money out of this marketing scheme. I really do.
And what's quite cool, I was reading on one of the packets that it said this packet was made from recycled, the bags that the Checkers bags get delivered in. So they recycle those to make the mini packets. So now they're actually speaking about their environmental
Wow.
footprint as
Yeah.
well. So there's so many levels of messaging. But what's really cool with this, at the marketing summit, there was a lady speaking about social media, and she actually spoke about Barbie and Barbie the movie and Oppenheimer, and they call both those Barbenheimer, the Barbenheimer movement. And they actually showed if you actually tracked social media and the crazy impact that those movies had, and where brands could actually capitalize on the fact that so many people were, posting about it, dressing in pink. So if they actually jumped on those hashtags, and if we're thinking now, what is topical right now, it would be topical to jump onto the minis thing to actually grab the attention of people that are speaking about it and then maybe bring your own messaging if it's
Mm,
applicable. So that's just
clever.
a way that entrepreneurs can potentially grab attention where so many people are writing about it and using certain hashtags.
Mm.
And I think just to add to that, Yoka, as I've just said with Checkers, and I'm sure there was some cost, obviously, but just to say that often in these conversations, people will say, "Oh, but I don't have a marketing budget and I don't have money." And I think that there are very clever ways of doing things where it doesn't need to cost a fortune. Yes, there is a cost to everything, however you measure it. Maybe it's your time, maybe your petrol, you have to drive somewhere. There will be some sort of cost. I mean, it costs us to get out of bed in the morning and live through a day. But the idea that marketing needs to carry this massive cost, particularly now in the digital age, I don't think that's true anymore.
So clever collaborations is
Yeah.
really the way to go. And that's what we're doing right now as well. It's
Mm.
clever collaborations. And I was listening to a podcast yesterday by Lisa Lauter, and she was speaking about thought leadership. And I was thinking, your podcast really delivers amazing thought leadership. And what's nice about it is everything that she says, it needs to be consistent. And you do it on a weekly basis so people can know what's expected. And you're getting experts in that actually helps you with that, but you also experts in your own right. So you're actually really adding wonderful meaning, but not only for you, also for the guests that you invite. So I was thinking, so the advice in that regard, for entrepreneurs would be, how could you collaborate, create a thing where you're actually interviewing people that would help your target audience to understand a certain field or problems better, that would actually help them in their world. And in that way, you're actually getting your brand out there. And that doesn't have to be so costly. It could just be a Zoom subscription, your internet, and like you say, your editing time, and then scheduling those appointments. But that's one of the ways that I was saying to these people in this personal brand masterclass. You don't always have to be the expert on your podcast. You could actually be the interviewer and actually showcase others. And in that way, you're also tapping into their expertise and you're actually being shown on the same level as them. That's how you elevate your expertise in your brand.
Well, that's exactly what we're doing with you, isn't it? We're a bunch of idiots chatting with you as an expert. So thank you, Yoke.
I don't agree. I don't think you're a bunch of experts.
I'm just
Mareka
seeing
is part of the professional speakers of Southern Africa, as I am. So,
No,
but
I
get
just
you.
wanted to make sure that Mary and Mareka were both still awake and
We
with
are
us.
listening. Yeah, we do learn a lot, I must say. Oftentimes, and I think that's why we enjoy doing it, because every week there's a different expert on a different topic. We grow, we learn, and we build our connections, through that. And I think, just to maybe also just get to the end of our session, I think the one thing is, back in the day, if you wanted to market your business, you had to either send an email or you had to, place an ad in the paper, or in a magazine, which now the internet is there. It's so easy and it's effortless. It's just, you have to just do it. Myself, I'm not a fan of making videos and editing this and photos. Maybe I should get my children to do it because they love doing these things. I can send them pictures and
Great
say, oh,
collaboration.
that's a very good idea, actually, that I just got. Because I don't enjoy doing it, but they do it so effortlessly. I have to figure it out, but, I mean, they're 10 years old. They know exactly how the apps work. It's effortless for them. But it's just to do it, to embrace it, and I guess because I wanted to challenge you with the next challenge, because Paul, do you still do your firewood selling or not anymore?
I do, yes. I'm a man of many
Talents.
skills. During the winter, I become the branch manager and
The
I sell
branch
firewood. Yes, I do it.
Love
I do it
that.
during winter, and I mean, we won't go into it today, but one day I think we'll tell the story of how that happened, and it really is a wonderful story. It's a story that inspires me, and I'm the guy that was the character in it. So I think when I share the story with others, it's equally inspiring. And absolutely, I don't do it all year round because obviously people lighting fires when it's 35 degrees is not going to work to keep
It's
you
still
nice and warm.
dry.
I should go. Well, this is a conversation that we'll have on another
That's what I
podcast.
wanted
Yeah,
to say. Or you should
yes.
supply a fire, like camps, camps where they make bonfires. I'll give you a whole business plan. Don't worry.
Excellent. But Mareka, you were asking that for a reason.
Yeah, no, because I'm trying to apply the concepts, in every type of different business, because some people might be listening to this and say, oh, but I don't do this. Oh, Lego is so cool, or I'm not a coach, that's easy because I can do motivational talks or whatever. But I'm thinking now, okay, if I sell firewood, how do I do that? So I'm trying
I've
to
got an
challenge you,
idea.
Yoke.
I've got an idea. So I got very addicted at a stage with Survivor. And one of the biggest challenges there is to make a fire, and they don't actually, I mean, sometimes they get a flint eventually, but they're starting out with nothing. So, Paul, you could have a fire making challenge, Survivor style. It's one of them.
That's cool.
And people can post videos. I think that would be amazing. And you could get people. A friend of mine, Kobus Visser, is a fire walker. You could get people to do
Yes.
fire walking. You could do like drumming. You could have this whole fire event. Get fire dancers. I saw some amazing fire dancers in Dubai in the desert the other day, which was really cool. And you just see, that fire. Luckily, the guy ran far away, because I was like right in front of a stage and I was like, I'm going to catch on fire. This is really dangerous. So there's so much you can actually do. Yeah. And luckily for your fire selling business, you are in South Africa, because if you were in Australia, you could not make a fire at home. So best you choose your locations wisely. In South Africa, we can still braai and make a bonfire at home, right?
And
Exactly.
on that note, let me tell you, I have a brother who lives in Paris. Well, he lived in Paris. He lives in France now, in the south of France. And let me tell you,
Mm.
in South Africa, to start a business is as simple as us sitting around a computer, banging a website together, and tomorrow we can be making money. Let me tell you, in many, many countries around the world, it is not as easy. Everything is regulated. You've got to
Yep.
jump through hoops. There's bureaucracy and red tape and policy and procedure. My brother, for instance, while he was in Paris, he realized that a lot of people live in these tiny little apartments. They don't have any gardens, but they have dogs, as you see in the movies, those ladies walking with these little Parisian dogs. Anyway, he started a dog walking service where he would go and collect these dogs. And like you've seen in some of the movies, you have these people walking with 6, 10, however many dogs on a lead. And
Was that him?
eventually he had to stop because it turned out that he wasn't complying with the necessary legislation for dog walking. You needed all sorts of permissions and insurances and goodness knows what else that he never had. I mean, he's from South Africa. You just have an idea, start a business, and away you go. And there, I think, is an example of how we can moan about a lot of things in this country. And we really can. There is so much that's broken. You could talk about it for days. But there's always a flip side to things. And one of them is, as an entrepreneur, getting off the ground in South Africa, starting a business, I think is probably easier than anywhere else in the world.
It's like
Definitely.
that vase story that you spoke about. The broken
Story?
pieces. The broken pieces that we have in South Africa, we can make into a beautiful vase and sell it for millions.
That's true. And we've
Exactly.
got the gold.
Yeah. And we got
Exactly.
gold.
Just
And
make
the
sure
fact
that you Google some videos around accounting so that SARS doesn't come and bite you in the bum. So just go and sign on for a course with an accountant, sort out your finances at the same time. Yeah.
Sure. Let me just qualify what I've said by saying I'm not suggesting you go about things illegally or unethically. You know, we've got minimum wage and there are a lot of things in the country that you do have to conform to. But I'm just saying, in terms of our free-spirited nature, there is, I think, far more space and room to move here, where in a lot of countries, you know, even Australia, what you said now about fires, you know, the rules and regulations in these so-called nanny states, there's a wonderful positive side to that, and that is that there's less crime, people feel safer, but there's also a flip side. I mean, the number of people in the UK now who literally complain about the fact that they are being watched all the time. You cannot go
It's
anywhere or do
crazy.
anything without being on camera. The
Mm.
fact, for instance, in many British villages and towns, if you do something wrong, it doesn't even need to be the authorities to come and catch you. It'll be your best friend, your neighbor next door, who will complain that you're doing things on your property in your time that you shouldn't be doing. It's so, yeah, I do think that there is a lot to be said for the sort of the free-spirited nature. And yes, it does have a downside, but we're certainly not saying here on the podcast that you should be doing things that are illegal or unethical. Certainly not any of that.
A lot of people also in the side hustle culture. So they would be working somewhere, but they would actually do a side hustle on the side. And that's really helping people with the income and that. And that's what you're saying, Paul. It's a bit more relaxed. It doesn't have to be so formal. You can do dog walking, you can do babysitting, there's so much you can do. Even kids are doing it while they're still at school. They'll have an
Exactly.
online store. So a little side hustle.
Absolutely. No, I think we have many benefits here in South Africa. You know, it's like, you know, choose your poison. Where you want to stay, there will always be something. And I would always choose South Africa. I feel there's a lot of opportunities. And what I like about it is that we can create our own opportunities. You know, that's the thing. You just have to. I think the thing that I'm taking from today is to think out the box, to be creative. You know, I haven't even thought of, you know, if I sell firewood, oh, think of a challenge, you know, or this, or fire dancers. There's so many that one can do, but we tend to think small. I think just to be creative. I think, this was a lovely conversation. I really enjoyed it. We had a couple of laughs as well, which is nice. And we chatted about completely other stuff, but I think still relevant. Thank you so much for your time, Yoko. I really enjoyed it. I think
Yeah.
at another time we can talk about corporates and why things are going the way it's going currently.
Can I
Had a
finish
lot
off
of
by
fun.
saying something?
Yes, Mary.
Einstein said that imagination is greater than knowledge.
True.
And that's it. Exactly what you spoke about today is imagination. You just have to let your imagination go and run wild and then come down to earth and put them together, and then you have something amazing.
They call it moonshot thinking. If they didn't think crazy enough that someone could go to the moon, no one would have. So we limit ourselves. We
Yeah.
should really think outside of the box and also not just limit ourselves to our own country. We have global businesses. People all over the world can listen to this podcast and it can help them in whatever country or currency they're at. So it's important to know that your markets can also be wider and depending on what you're doing. But thank you so much. Great fun.
Thank you for joining us, Yoka, Mary, Mareka. Thank you to you both. And we'll look forward to your company in our next edition of the Coaching Hour podcast. Thanks for joining us and bye for now.